the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Is he
Iowa.
Arizona? Oh, he
No,
played
he
at
was
Iowa?
an Iowa defensive back.
Okay.
Little Kirby action.
Did the other Stoops, was Mike Stoops the head coach at Arizona? Is that
yes.
right? Okay.
But I think Mark was actually a DC at Arizona at one point,
Yeah,
too.
he was DC and DB coach. I'm looking at that now.
So there you go. I don't know. Maybe that's where he ends up. Or he just stays and he has a really happy, normal life. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, like you said, it's the best job in America, being the head football coach of Kentucky when you're doing well. Like, everything's gravy. You beat Florida 3 years in a row. It's okay.
For sure. And talking a little bit just about the Georgia Kentucky from last week, like, I think that's why, like, as a Georgia fan, it's like, yeah, Kentucky, I respect what they've done on a national level, but just from a respect level, but they're not going to beat Georgia. And I was probably more down on Georgia going into this week, but I thought they would cover. But you were predicting the offensive explosion, sir, and that's what we got. I think this is what people have been waiting to see from Georgia, putting up 51. This offense, I think Carson Beck might be the best quarterback in the SEC. I'm going to say that right now. Like, I think Georgia might have the best passing game attack in the SEC this year. I think when it's all said and done, Jaden Daniels has looked great, but this passing attack, when it hits its stride, like, I mean, look at, you got 5 deep at wide receiver. Brock Bowers, the best, honestly, probably the best player in college football. What is this? What are you disagreeing with me right now?
5 deep? Who are the 5 deep that you trust out wide right now? Who are the 5 consistent wide outs?
Well, if you include Brock Bowers, obviously.
Okay, we got Brock.
Ra Thomas, Dominic Lovett.
Hold on. Are we saying Ra through 5-6 games? He's consistent? You're dead set on him.
This is a guy that's played SEC
No.
football.
I'm saying this year. We're talking about this year that you are certain can be counted on. It's like as a
good quality SEC level, like,
okay,
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely not Arian Smith. Lad hasn't been available most of the year.
No, not Arian Smith. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, and then Lad would be your 5th receiver. It's like, This is a guy who led them in catches a year, or led them in touchdowns, or no, I guess Brock led them across the board. He led all receivers in catches and touchdowns and everything. So I think this passing game, I mean, you look, their lead, Carson Beck's leading the SEC in yards per game right now. I want to say Georgia's leading the SEC in pass attempts. Like this
but I mean, it's still not better than LSU. No one's catching LSU this year. Like a healthy Jalen Daniels, Neighbors, and Thomas and company is just, it's not fair. It's filthy. They're never really out of a game. Like, their defense is trash, and they're just over here like, I guess we'll score 57 at Mizzou to win this one. Like,
but I think that's the difference too, is that Georgia is not going to have to get into shootouts like LSU, so they're not going to be throwing for 4 quarters the same way. So the stats might not look the same at the end of the day, but like Carson Beck is like as good a quarterback as a team needs to win a national championship. Like and honestly, especially when you look at this Georgia running game, they're not doing it typical Georgia style running. This is a pass first offense. Like the passing game is definitely the strength of this team. And like Mike Bobo, a lot has been said about Mike Bobo, and he was dialing up some great play calls on Saturday. So I thought Georgia looked good. That's what people have been waiting to see. This offense looking explosive and everything. And Kendall Milton, maybe the running game gets healthy and they finally, see what they can do. But I think you knew that Kentucky was not going to run on Georgia the way they ran on Florida the week before. So I think that was big time. It's hard to it's hard to say anything about the Vanderbilt game. It's Georgia Vanderbilt, and I'm sure it's going to be about 75% Georgia fans in that stadium. And what was the last touchdown Vanderbilt scored was 2018 on Georgia? Is that the stat? So yes. Georgia can probably pick their score in this one, drop another 50 spot if they want, call off the dogs at 40-0 if they want. I don't know. I doubt this one's going to be competitive at all.
But I'm surprised you didn't mention the one thing that I wonder if this is going to be the permanent transition. And part of it's just personnel, part of it's injuries. But I wonder if Georgia fans are ready for the post Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, run first, run the dang ball Georgia offense that won titles, that kind of jump-started this Kirby era. it's not there. Like, I don't think Georgia's going to be a consistent running threat this year. And like you said, they don't have to if Carson's cooking like this and the receivers and Brock and company are working the way they are. And also when you have the offensive line that you do.
In fairness, none of those teams ever won titles.
Yeah.
The two that won titles, I think, 2021 was more of a run first team. Definitely had a great defense, but 2022 was definitely a pass first team as well.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, do you think fans are going to be okay with this? Are they aware that like this is now a new era of Georgia football and that the 5-star backs and the run first stuff is probably not happening anymore? Like, this is going to be a pass. Like when you get Ryan Puglisi or Dylan Raiola or like even Gunnar Stockton or whoever after this, like it's going to be the ball's in the quarterback's hands and we're passing it around to our different skill guys, our tight ends and everything else. Like, this is going to be a pass first operation going forward.
I mean, I think that's just the way the game of football is going, so you're seeing more and more passing, but I think at the end of the day, the running game is never going to go away in terms of just football and having identity of what Georgia football is. I think if you can run on teams, everyone wants to run on teams. It's like that's the easiest, the safest way to just move the ball and milk the clock. It's always going to be the preferred way. I think if you can run, it's just most teams aren't able to build up the elite offensive line and the elite backs to consistently run like that. And Georgia is going to be one of those teams who typically has a great offensive line. This offensive line hasn't been great so far. They've been fine, but in terms of what the expectations were, I think they haven't been like the best in the country by any means. So, and you look at this running, I think this is more of an unprecedented lack of depth at Georgia's running back position. Like you see Dylan Bell is the second best running back right now, and he's a wide receiver. So I think this is not what Georgia wants to be necessarily. Like, I think it just shows like how far they've come in terms of they can win multiple ways now. Like they don't have to just be a run first team. And if that doesn't work, they can't move the ball. So I think the personnel on this team, it might just fit. And I think this is what people kind of thought coming into the year, with what Carson Beck is. It's like, with all due respect to Stetson Bennett, he wasn't the prototype. And that's kind of what made him so good. He did a lot of this improvising and eluding pressure, making plays with his legs, and he could throw a deep ball as well. But Carson Beck has a more prototype kind of skill set, and he seems to hit those, 15 to 25 yard intermediate throws just with a different, it just looks different coming out of his arm than Stetson Bennett. And I think Georgia's passing game looks a lot more dangerous than it did a year ago.
All right. There you go, Matt Green. Where are we going first here in our Week 7 pick'em, sir?
I'll say also Georgia Vanderbilt 51-6 is what I'll call for the score.
I don't
the last
think so.
two been shutouts. The last two, one of them was 52-0. I want to say they might have been 49-0 last couple of years. But yeah, I think it'll be a fairly easy game.
Vanderbilt's in some trouble too, because if you look at the rest of their schedule, Matt Green, like they are in jeopardy of ending the season. So you barely beat Hawaii 35-28. You crush Alabama A&M, good. You lose to UNLV, you lose to Wake, you lose to Kentucky, lose to Missouri, lose to Florida. Now you got Georgia, at Ole Miss, Auburn, at South Carolina, and at Tennessee. That looks like 1-11 to me, Matt Green. They're going to end the season on a 9-game losing streak. Or 2-10, rather. Yeah, 2-10.
Yeah, I could see it. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
10
someone's got to lose.
Ooh, goodness gracious. It's a tough job, man. Clark Lee.
Yeah, last 2 years, 55-0 in 2022 and 62-0 in 2021. So I may have oversold it. It might be a third straight goose egg. Hey, Kirby's taking this personal after they took away senior night in 2020 with Vanderbilt. No showed for that contest.
I love that everyone
Georgia ramped up the intensity.
They run with this, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's true, but like,
I don't think that. I think Vanderbilt's just a bad team, and Georgia's a good team.
I think that's.